So we've seen now how to pick a specific version of Python on a CHPC system, but you might find in using Python on CHPC systems that you need to install your own packages. This is very common for scientific software. And the next question I have here, Q2, is I have specific software requirements. How do I install packages? Now there are a few different strategies for this. We suggest using either virtual environments or Conda environments to install your own packages. And we have documentation on this, so I'm going to bring up a web browser here, and I will resize this and then go to the CHPC website, chpc.utah.edu. And from here, if I go to documentation, software, and then Python environment user installation, this will show the different options here. So the two that we recommend are either a Conda environment or a virtual environment. And this really just depends on the nature of the packages that you're installing. So virtual environments, or venv, that is a built-in feature of the Python language, and it allows you to install packages yourself with pip, but only if you're installing Python packages. So this is what I'd recommend using if you have a simple environment that you need to set up where you're only installing Python packages. By contrast, Conda is a language agnostic environment manager. And so you can set up a specific version of Python and you can install packages, but you could also install other dependencies that aren't in Python. And you might find that some scientific software recommends installing it with Conda. And if that's the case, then you'll want to use Conda for all of your packages. So essentially, virtual environments are for very simple cases where everything can be installed with pip. But if anything recommends using Conda for installation, you should use a Conda environment for all of your packages in that environment. So I'm going to bring up the specific page here on virtual environments, and we can walk through setting one up. So we actually have a script that users can run to help with this process. So what I'm going to do is open up a terminal. I'll make the font size a little bigger here, and I'm going to SSH to one of the CHPC systems. So I'm going to SSH, for example, to granite1.chpc.utah.edu. And this is one of the login nodes on the Granite cluster here. And so this will ask me for my password. And then once I'm logged in, I'll be able to run commands on this node, this login node. And as we saw before, when we were looking at Python versions, I can load a specific version of Python. So I'm just going to load the most recent version of Python 3 by running module load Python 3. And the reason I'm going to do that is because a virtual environment in Python always uses some existing version of Python as the basis for the virtual environment. And so I'm going to be using this Python 3 version that I just loaded as the basis for my virtual environment. And now all I have to do is run this script. So I'm just going to copy and paste this directly in my terminal here, and it will start this setup wizard here. So this is saying this will be based on the version of Python I currently have on my path. That's the one that I loaded with module load Python 3. So I'm going to proceed with that and say yes. Would you like to include packages from the Python installation you were using as the basis for your virtual environment? So this will take any packages that are presently in the base environment, so the Python 3 module that I loaded, and make them available within my Python virtual environment. I'm actually going to say no here, and my reason is that this can cause issues with some packages like Jupyter, where if Jupyter is already installed in the base environment, it's not going to attempt to reinstall it in the virtual environment, but then I won't be able to run the Jupyter command. So if you're an advanced Python user and you can work around this, then you can say yes here, but I'd recommend most users say no. So this virtual environment will exist in a particular directory. I'm going to use this default here, which is my home directory / my Python venvs. So I'll just leave this blank so it takes the default. And now I need to choose a name for the virtual environment. So I'll call this using Python venv. And now it's time to set up this virtual environment. So I'll go ahead and hit enter. And it will run a command in the background here to set this up for me. So after it's set up, it will ask whether I want to upgrade pip. This is what I'd recommend doing to any users who are going to be installing packages with pip. So I'd say yes here. This should be pretty quick. It's just going to install the most recent version of pip that's available. And pip is what's used to install Python packages. Now, there's yet another question here. Would you like to create a module for your virtual environment? So this is going to allow you to create a module that you can load with module load, like we did with Python 3, for your specific Python environment. So this is a way of setting up your software so that it's compatible with other software on CHPC systems. So I'm going to actually answer yes here. It'll ask me where I want to put this module, and the default is fine. And now it's set up this module file, so I now have something that is loadable in the module system on CHPC systems, but the module system has to be aware of where that's located. And the way you make it aware of the location of this module file is with the module use command. So this question here is just asking whether you'd like to add this to your login scripts, which are run whenever you log into a CHPC system. So if you do this, whenever you log in, it will run the module use command. So you don't have to run module use some path and then module load your module name. You just have to run the module load command. So I would recommend this, and I'll say yes here. Now in my case, I already had those in my login scripts, so it just skipped that. But you can see now that it says the virtual environment was set up, and so we're ready to go here. So in order to use this for the first time, we need to run this module use command, which again is now in my login scripts, so it won't need to be done again. But I do need to run it the first time, since I'm already in a session. I didn't log in again, so it won't run my login script. And then I need to run this module load command to load my environment. And so you can see that it is swapping the Python module that I loaded with my new virtual environment module. And if I run which Python, you'll see that it's actually referring to a Python executable within my home directory here. And so now that I have this self-installed version of Python that's in my home directory, I can write, of course, the files in my home directory so I can install packages in this environment. Whereas before, when I was using the system version of Python, I'm not a super user, I'm not root, so I couldn't actually install packages in that environment, whereas now I can. So again, going back to this website on setting up a virtual environment on our documentation, we're done with step 1.1 now. We can skip this section 1.2. This is a manual setup section. It's essentially doing the same thing as the script, but it's giving you some more flexibility if you're an advanced user. But since we've used the script, we can just skip this entirely. So now we can jump directly to installing packages. So we could, for example, install a new version of pip, which we've already done. That was in the setup wizard. And we can install packages with pip now. So we could, for example, run pip install the fuzz, which we'll use for a later example. We could install things like numpy, matplotlib, etc. So I'll go ahead and run this. And it's downloading and installing these different components that I asked for, along with their dependencies. and it says successfully installed. So this new version of Python that I've created in my home directory now has these additional packages that I've installed. Now there is one important thing to note, which is that if you're using a Jupyter notebook, such as through Open On Demand with your custom version of Python, you will want to install the Jupyter package as well so that it can start the Jupyter notebook. So I would run pip install Jupyter, and that will install Jupyter and allow me to run Jupyter notebooks with this version of Python. So this will take a minute to install all of the dependencies, but once it's done, I should be able to run Jupyter notebooks through Open On Demand, which we'll cover later on in this class. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about how you would set up, instead of a Python virtual environment or a venv, a Conda environment. So that will be the next video.